Welcome, this is Anton from Code and Success. In today's video, we will talk about the question, which framework is better, Angular or React? Now, in case you didn't know, Angular and React, they are frameworks for front-end development. And these two are the most popular and the most used around the world. They were both made around 10 years ago, and over the past years they have been improved and improved and improved. And now there are very strong tools to build very big applications. I see many people online, new programmers, asking the question after they learned the basics of front-end development, after they have learned HTML, CSS and JavaScript. They are now wondering, okay, people nowadays only use frameworks for front-end development. Which is better, Angular, React, Vue.js? And we can forget all the others. We can only focus on Angular or React because these are the most realistic ones. These are the most popular and strong ones. And I don't want even to talk about the other ones. You can learn them for fun if you really want to. But Angular was developed by Google. React was developed by Facebook, or now Meta. So the people who support these frameworks, they are big players, and so there is enormous trust in them. Let's talk about them both. Angular, developed by Google, is used in big and strong applications called enterprise applications. You will also find that the companies who are involved in finance and in banking, that they also usually rely on Angular. Common applications made with Angular are all the Google apps that you know, including Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Meet, and all these other interesting Google apps that you know. Also Upwork, Forbes, Lego, or the Deutsche Bank, the German bank. All these websites mainly or in big parts use Angular. And now for React, which is now owned and developed by Meta. Of course, the applications from Meta like Facebook, Instagram and WhatsApp Web, like the web version of WhatsApp. These things are all made with React. Also famous other apps made with React are Netflix, Amazon, Reddit, Airbnb and Discord. Also, so I cannot speak too badly about them at this point. But the big difference here is Angular is a very strong framework. It has everything that you need for small and for big applications. And it is trusted the most for big, reliable software in the front end. And that's why it is mostly used in enterprise, finance and banking. Like if you really need something super reliable, super strong. React, on the other hand, it doesn't come with a big tool set at first. You can of course install additional tool sets like the reactive JavaScript support for React, for example, and other interesting things. But React itself is not that strong. But some people say that the hurdle, that the start to get something done quickly for beginners in React is much easier than in Angular. But I would not support this claim actually. Actually, I think after you have learned HTML, CSS and JavaScript to a certain point that even Angular is a bit easier. That's my opinion. And so as you can see, React is mostly used for social apps, for entertainment apps, for mainstream consumer platforms like Netflix. So there is some difference to see. Now that's one side of it. The second point, the second difference between Angular and React is Angular is more logical. I learned both. Now I work as an Angular developer in the front end. I also learned React a few years ago while I was learning how to create apps for the Shopify ecosystem, and they work with React, and it was terrible, really. After learning Angular, after knowing how Angular works, of course Angular and React, they have similarities, that you have components and you use these components on many places. I get that, but Angular, for example, is very sexy to me because there everything is structured. You have a component and it is divided into HTML, CSS, the spec or the testing file, and the logic file, the TS file, the TypeScript file. And for whatever you need to do, you know where to adjust something. You need to adjust the styling, go to the CSS file. You need to adjust the HTML, go to the HTML file, and so on. And to me, it is very sexy and logical. And there's also two-way binding, if you know about that. But compared to React, I learned this, and there is not even real HTML. There's like something similar called JSX. And also you have this strange manipulated HTML, this JSX in your logic file, in your TypeScript file, and sometimes the CSS also, and it looked so ugly, it looked so strange, like it was not logical to me. You want to save something, you want to save a state, and you have to break both your legs to like save something, while in Angular you have the two-way binding. Like this is only the small differences which made no sense to me in React. And overall, like if you a logical thinker, like thinking in structured ways, like in Angular, React made no sense to me at all. Okay, I get it, some people may find it easier for some reason which I don't understand, but really, trust me, as a programmer with many years of experience, I can say Angular is way more logical to use, way more interesting, way more powerful than React in my opinion. And also most importantly, way more fun. And people say, oh, Angular is only used in big applications. That's nonsense. It's also used in many small applications. Like when I develop some software for myself, for my clients, I also just use Angular. And it is not difficult at all after you know it. Absolutely not. And like after my short experience of React, I was like, hell no, this is disgusting. I don't want to do anything with that. But similarities between Angular and React, like maybe you have heard that once you have learned the front-end development with the Angular or with the React, then you can switch to mobile using React Native. But in Angular you can also use that using Ionic, which is also like Angular for mobile apps and super easy to use. Now that's the second point. I don't find React sexy to use. I find Angular way more logical to use and way more powerful also. And the third point is, you also have to think about the money aspect, about the career aspect. Like, oh, there's maybe more jobs on the internet for React developers. I have seen that. But I have also noticed that the companies who usually pay very big amounts of money, the companies where you can make a good career and where you can earn a good living, they usually work with Angular. And if you remember, Angular is used mostly at very big companies. And these companies have some good budget. So you also have to think about that. Maybe React is a little bit more fun for you, for some reason which I don't get. But you will often find work at smaller companies. And there you can earn not so much. There is no guarantee that you can work for Meta, for the Facebook, for Instagram, or for Netflix, or for Discord. I think they have enough developers. And then you maybe want to think again about the technology stack that you use. So overall, Angular is way more interesting, pays much better in my opinion, and is way more powerful. I will stick with Angular, but when you stick with React, you will not die from it. You will be fine. But overall, if you have to choose, better choose Angular. That's my opinion. If you liked it, if you want to discuss, my comments are open. Otherwise, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you next time. Goodbye.